Fire and movement. A fire and maneuver is a military tactic that uses suppressive fire to decrease the enemy's ability to return fire. Its organization unit cohesion and morale. The tactic is used by squad or section unit commanders on the modern battlefield. The movement part of the action consists of a separate organizational unit moving forward in greater safety afforded by the suppressive fire laid down on the enemy. History. The Swedish king Gustavus Adolphus was likely the first to use the tactic in wartime, in the 30 Years' War against his Habsburg opponents. Fire and movement became particularly important when more and more rifled muskets and breech-loading weapons, later followed by machine guns, were fielded on the battlefields of the 19th century. The increased accuracy, range and rate of fire translated into more firepower, allowing smaller units to operate more independently. This marked the transition from first to second generation warfare that saw the increasing application of fire and movement on the tactical level. During the First Boer War, it was a standard Boer tactic, and contributed to a series of victories, culminating at the Battle of Majuba Hill. According to Stephen Biddle, the effective use of fire and maneuver was the key to ending the stalemates on the lines of the Western Front during the final months of World War I. Since that time, he argues, mastery of fire and maneuver has been one of the central components of successful military tactics in modern land warfare. Overview. Fire and movement can be performed by any unit made up of at least 2 soldiers. The first part of the military unit suppresses the enemy by firing from behind cover, while the second advances. After a short time, the advancing unit will halt behind cover and open fire, allowing the second to advance. The 2 parts of the unit will repeat the cycle until the objective is met. Enemy suppression can also be achieved with direct hand or indirect fire from combat support units. Artillery, mortars and armor are a few examples of combat support units often used in fire and movement. In the United States military, a basic fire and movement tactic is called Overwatch. There also exist several variations of Overwatch, generally adding further description to more accurately describe the specific maneuver. A unit fires upon an enemy to distract or suppress them, allowing another unit to assault, flank or encircle the enemy. The enemy will be pinned down and cannot react, and will be forced to take cover until the flanking unit engages them. Suppression. Heavy and continuous suppressive fire keeps an opponent in a defensive posture and therefore limits the enemy's overall firepower. Suppressive fire also prevents the enemy from properly assessing the attack and organizing a coherent and coordinated defense or counterattack. Advance. While a base of fire is set up, the second unit will advance to cover in front, in the process setting up a new base of fire at this point. After a new base of fire has been set up, the first unit will advance, under cover of the new fire base, to a new position and set up another base of fire. Assault. These actions are repeated until the units have closed upon the enemy position. At this point they engage directly with the enemy, often with grenade throwing, close quarters battle techniques, and hand-to-hand combat. Use in film. This tactic was used in the British film Bravo 20. A small unit of Shash soldiers is attacked from the rear in open desert by a mechanized unit of the Iraq Army. Turning to face the threat, the Shash fought in a series of bounce and overwatches while utilizing overwhelming firepower to get within hand grenade range, thereby eliminating the attack from the rear. The tactic is also used in the Michael Mann film Heat. After a bank robbery is foiled by police, the criminal gang use their overwhelming firepower to escape. The film is frequently cited as one of the most realistic depictions of fire and movement in cinema, and has been shown to Army and Special Forces members as a classic example of the practice. Ex-Special Air Service member Andy McNabb was a technical advisor for the film.